When looking at Renner's relationship with Ainz, one of the first things to look at is how she first got in contact with the tomb itself and who she first was majorly exposed to, which of course was Demi and Albedo. And of course the first person that she made contact with was Demi when it came to him confronting her, realizing her true nature, and them striking a deal. And then of course that deal was that she would be a spy for the tomb in exchange for guaranteeing that Climb's safety was, you know, safe and sound, so that she could live out her wildest fantasies, which of course I spoke about in my previous video. But what I think is really kind of fascinating is how that relationship has grown throughout the volumes and ended in the way it did in the latest volume of Overlord. And of course it started off, as I said, with Demi, then expanded to Albedo, but it never really went to any of the other Supreme Beings. It mainly focused on Demi and Albedo and Renner kind of built that relationship around them both being very obsessive about their individual man that they are, again, obsessed with. And so that's how they've been able to build that kindred spirit. But with Demi and Renner, it's more of their minds and them kind of being fascinated by, and of course the relationship with Demi and Renner is being more built on Demi's fascination with Renner because of her hidden personality, her true nature that he uncovered, and him being interested in her. It's very much the same with Albedo. Albedo is a bit interested in Renner because of that nature, but of course that relationship has built up over time. When you look at Renner's relationship with Ainz, it's more built on her knowing things through them, the proxy of having them talk about Ainz in such a high regard, and her kind of always in a wonder of how he doesn't just use brute force but intelligence. And of course she is not seeing the bigger picture that, again, Ainz sees, is that of course Ainz isn't all knowing and all magnificent. It's more just he wings it and is able to pull off miracle after miracle after miracle, but also relying on the other floor guardians, particularly Demi and Albedo, when it comes to their sheer intelligence, has allowed him to make very clever and calculated decisions. It's just, I would say Ainz's true intelligence comes from him being able to use the other two guardians to their full potential, and basically saying, well, you know, I already know what I need to do, but you need to work out what I'm thinking. And then Ainz just kind of going, yeah, that's what I was thinking. They're trying to think up the best scenario, thinking that's what Ainz is thinking, and then him going, yeah, that was what I was thinking. In itself is very silly, but at the same time very cunning and manipulative. I sometimes think Ainz underestimates just how smart he can be at times by using simple tricks, to say the least. But what I think it comes down to with Ainz and Renner's relationship is more just how she sees him as this sort of omnipotent being, this supreme being, and that's how she refers to him, as a supreme being. She has a very almost similar respect for Ainz as what the other NPCs have. Some of the NPCs see Ainz in a different way depending on the individual. Of course, Albedo sees him a lot more obsessively, while Demi sees so much more respect and Ainz as someone that can do no wrong, and that's kind of how I see Renner, at least how the light novels has depicted him in her eyes, is that she sees he can do no wrong, and a lot of that comes down to the fact that he has made very clever and calculated decisions. But the thing is that his decisions are built on Albedo and Demi's, and I see true intelligence not being in that you yourself can make every perfect decision, but you utilizing your surroundings to the best of your ability. And that's where I think Ainz's true intelligence comes from, and that's what I think Renner is going to see come down the path, because of course she's going to see that, yeah, he isn't the one making all the decisions, but he is utilizing those around him. He is able to maximize on the intelligence and the tools that are available to him, and I think that's where true wisdom and intelligence comes from. But also another thing to also note when it comes to the relationship between Renner and the Great Tomb itself, and it's something that I talked about in my previous video a while back, is of course with Renner doing her race change and Climb also doing the same. They are now immortal. And also on top of the fact that if Renner was to, say, betray the Great Tomb, I don't think it would work out in her favor. And ignoring the fact that the tomb would completely destroy her and Ainz would come after her, no one would accept her. She's no longer human. She has shown that she is on the side of the tomb. So for her to turn against the tomb would be in the worst interest, even if the tomb just left her alone. Let's just say, hypothetically as an example, she turned on Ainz, she went out, she went into hiding. No one out there would accept her. No one would trust her. And so it would just be her and Climb, and I don't think she'd have a problem with just being her and Climb, but no one would accept her, and people would be gunning for her and hunting her down because of the betrayal on the people itself and how she went and helped Ainz. So taking the tomb aside from that, it wouldn't be in her best interest. She is, again, immortal. She's got Climb. She's got her wildest fantasies fulfilled with the fact that she is immortal and he is immortal. She is in a safe and secure location and protected. As long as she doesn't do anything silly like betray the tomb, she is perfectly safe and fine and secure. And she is an extremely valuable tool for the Great Tomb because of her intelligence. So to me, honestly, she is in the best situation she could ever ask for, and I just don't ever see that be the case. I have seen some weird fan theories where people believe that she is going to turn on Ainz, and I just think that's extremely unlikely just for the fact that she is in the best possible situation that you could ever imagine. And so I only ever see the relationship between Ainz and Renners only blossoming and growing and being more solidified because of the fact she is in such a secure and perfectly good situation. The only thing, as I've mentioned in other videos, and of course in this video a little bit, is that I just don't think much is going to happen beyond this point. I feel like the author is going to close the chapter on this story and Renners is not really going to be delved much into. I could see maybe one chapter maybe diving a little bit into how she is coping with everything ongoing and how Climb is coping. I'm hoping to see a Climb and a Sebas reuniting and seeing them interacting and that sort of putting Climb's mind at ease. I've mentioned that in a previous video as well, and I'm hoping to see that, but I don't see much else being dived into when it comes to Renners and the tomb itself. I just kind of see that a very minor plot point later on down the line. I kind of feel like the only place that the story is really going to go in the next volume and onwards is Ainz solidifying his presence and power and dominance over the rest of parts of the new world that he is conquering. So I don't really see much more going into other characters at sort of the back end that have already been delved into. I could see a little bit on the Holy Kingdom, but that's really about as far as I could see as backtracking and maybe some of the Lizard people to kind of finish off those areas. Maybe, just maybe on some of the Dwarven Kingdom, but I just feel like Renners' story was, you know, very heavily tied up in the latest volume itself. But again, I'd love to know your thoughts in the comment section down below. What are your overall thoughts about Renners? Because I've talked about her quite a lot in detail in other videos, in my latest review, and I feel like this is probably going to be more of the final video on her and diving into her, and particularly Climb as well, unless something happens in the next volume. But I only see really only one chapter worth of more story being developed on them, and that's basically the Climb and Sebas reunion, and maybe a bit of how Renners is adapting to her new situation and maybe how she contributes and helps the Great Tomb. But I don't really see much more other than that. But again, love to know your thoughts. But if you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe for more anime content, and I will see you, beautiful nerds, in the next video.